Hi there, welcome to this week's episode of the Warlock's Brew. I'm MaroonWarlock, this is MaroonWarlock Gaming, and this week we're going to be looking at a modern blue-white Intruder Alarm deck. For those of you that don't know Intruder Alarm, its most recent printing I think was 8th edition. It is a 3-drop enchantment. Creatures don't untap their controllers on tap steps, and whenever a creature ETBs, untap all creatures. It combos with a new card that came out of our devastation called Steward of Solidarity, 2-drop 2/2 for white and 1, where you can tap and exert it to create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. And the funny thing about exert is that you can do it to the same creature multiple times. So, in Magic Christmas Land, where your opponent is not running removal, what you want to try to do for the perfect hand involves turn toing a Steward of Solidarity, dropping Intruder Alarm, and then probably the end of their turn, or when they're tapped out, so you know they're not going to like board wipe or something silly like that, or do whatever. You activate Steward of Solidarity and just create an infinite number of creature tokens with vigilance. Because every time one of those creature tokens enters the battlefield, it triggers Intruder Alarm, which untaps a Steward, and you just keep activating. And you just do however many you need. In MTGO, it takes a little long because you have to do each individual activation, i.e., like Splinter Twin. And actually, what I like about this deck is that it wins in the same style as Splinter Twin, which I'm one of the people that thought that deck was fine, shouldn't have been banned. It was dominant, don't get me wrong, but I feel like Modern just finally got back to where it should be, where it's very balanced, because you have a deck that keeps things in check. Anyway, so for the deck list, I designed it with a very tempo style, very tempo control style, kind of modeled it after what I remembered from Twin and from what Blue White Control is right now. I'll do the lands last because it's not a huge thing. You obviously have your Serum Visions because drawing cards and scrying is nice in a combo deck. We're running 3 Condemns. Because when you go infinite, you don't care what your opponent's life is. So this is literally just a 1 mana, get rid of a card. Deal with it. Without giving your opponent a good drawback. Or without any negative drawback. We're running 3 Paths, because Path is just good. Because the problem with Condemn is that it has to be attacking in order for you to cast it. We also have 2 Vapor Snags in here. They're flexible in the sense of, say I go Steward of Solidarity, and they try to Fatal Push or Path it. If I have Blue up and a Vapor Snag in hand, I can cast Vapor Snag to bounce the Steward back to my hand. And, like, I don't mind eating the 1 life, because this is one of those decks where it's like, you care about having 1 life, and that's about it. Like, you can win on 1 life, or you can win on 2 life. We're running 4 Snapcasters in the starting the 2 slot here. We have 4 Snapcasters because Snapcaster's great in any blue deck. It's basically a must play. We have our 4 Steward of Solidarities because it's half of the combo. If you're running less than 4, there's a problem. We have 4 Wall of Omens. This is one of the more recent additions when I was doing testing because I had Spreading Season here before, and I realized Wall of Omens is, I think, better. Like, you have advantages over things like Tron and stuff, but I was like, I think you can just combo before Tron gets off. So, Wall of Omens helps you stall out a bit with that 0-4 body, and then when it ETBs, you draw a card, so it does so many things right off the bat. Running a pair of Mana Leaks to counter spells that we really don't want to have hitting. We have a Negate as a 1-of, just because Negate can help stop people from stopping us. Big is we're running 4 Remands, which for any combo deck like this that's playing like a semi-tempo style, like we're trying to say don't do that. We're doing things, as a friend of mine once said to me about Remand. I was trying to understand when I was getting into Modern of why it's so good. Basically, you just time lock them for a turn and you get to draw a card early on, and then later it's like, say you don't have an answer for something that they're trying to do, you can at least remand to try to dig for that answer and then answer it. Of course, again, you have the 4 Intruder Alarms. you got, and again, just, it's really good because if they have an aggro strategy and you get them to top deck mode, and you drop an Intruder alarm, they basically have to hope they top into a creature if they swung out. So this card's actually really good even without it, even without the combo out. The only time where it's been really bad for me was I played against a Kiki Cord deck, and I helped them combo in a really awkward way. So there's that. Next we have a pair of Cryptic Commands, because countering spells and drawing cards and tapping creatures your opponents control are really nice. I don't know if the return permanents to its owner's hands will ever see play in this setup, but it might. And then we have a single Logic Knot. It used to be a mana leak, but I realized that having access to just like one of Logic Knot is really nice. For the lands, we got 4 Seachrome Coasts, because in a perfect world, you're trying to combo by turn 3, or you can combo on turn 3. I have the random polluted delta to match with the fetches here. So we have 4 flooded strands effectively, because that delta is either grabbing an island or grabbing a hallowed fountain. We have a pair of shocks to fetch out. 3 plains, 4 islands, just to make sure we don't overextend ourselves into, say, a Blood Moon. We have a pair of Temple of Enlightenments, because other than the Searing Visions, you're really not casting anything turn 1. So just having that ability to just have a Scry 1 to try to dig to your combo, I thought was kind of nice. And last is a recent addition I've been liking, was I put in 3 Fairy Conclaves over a few basics that I had in there. Just because of the fact that if I lose the Stewards, I can't combo. But at the same time, if I have an Intruder alarm out and they're tapped down and whatever, and they can't cast things, I can activate Fairy Conclave, swing at them, and then it untaps next turn because it's a land at the end of turn. So it untaps on my untap step. And I also think that Celestial Colony is just a little too slow for what this deck, for the most part, is trying to do. Just as being aggressive as it can turtle itself to defend, but when it wants to turn on the aggression, it can turn on the aggression. Fun interactions include Steward of Solidarity with another one out. You can exert each one on alternating turns to create warriors to stall out until you hit an Intruder alarm. I actually had this one game against Blue-White Control where I tried casting Steward, they went to counter it, I went to counter their counter, they went to counter that counter, I then remanded Steward, and then they're just drawing a card off of Steward and having the Steward still, and the counters all fizzled. It was kind of funny. So, I mean, like, this deck has some funny interactions, and it's decently solid at stalling out a board. Moving on to the sideboard. I haven't had too many chances to test the sideboard out as much as I would have liked. We got a Stony Silence for Lantern decks and Affinity. 2 Disenchants, because Chalice on 1 kind of hurts us a bit. We got a pair of Fragmentize for the sake of just, again, artifacts and enchantments kind of wreck us. It can potentially wreck us if they're done right. We got 3 Ceremonious Rejections, because Tron and Eldrazi are all a thing. We got Negate as an additional copy, and Spell Pierce to kind of side in against Burn and those other kind of matchups. The only thing I'd really change from this half of it is maybe an extra, like, counter spell to deal with, say, Burn, because I'm not sure if my Burn matchup's great, but at the same time, you win some, you lose some. Pair of Ghost Quarters, just because we want to have land destruction. They can come in against Tron, they can come against Eldrazi, they can come against Death's Shadow, I think. Just because of the fact is I can blow up one of their lands, and odds are they're not going to, like, they might have a basic, or they're going to have, like, 2 basics tops. Because we use our graveyard with the Snapcasters, I elected for Tormod's Crypt over, say, Rest in Peace. And because we don't, and Relic, and also because we don't have black, Nihil Spellbomb was out, so I figured, let's try Tormod's Crypt. We can deal with other graveyard strats, and we can deal with Dredge in a funny way. Lastly, we have Pithing Needle, because I personally, again, I'm a fan of if Pithing Needle can be played in a sideboard and you have an extra slot, use it. Like I said, if anything, this would probably end up being like a Dispel, or maybe another Negate, but, I like Pithing. it helps deal with planeswalker decks that you're not ready for. I think that's the list. So we're already entered this into a friendly league, as I usually do with these brews. We're going to see how it does. If it does really well, we'll see if we can ramp it up to a competitive league on another occasion. But in my early test, I like the deck. I think it's solid. Like I said, I got to see how it does against decks like Death Shadow and such. So we'll see. So yeah, I hope you guys join me for my adventures into a modern league with Blue White Intruder, as I'm dubbing it. And I hope you enjoy. So deuces.